something to say. Oh, I missed you guys last week. It was a little bit of a vacation. I'm sure you understand. But that's okay, because do I have a special guest for you today? Vicki Noethling is in the house. First of all, I had Vicki on Let's Keep It Real podcast. And I thought she was just awesome sauce. So I said, you have to come on my live show. I think, time flies, but I think that was almost, maybe 6-8 months ago. And she's just an incredible woman. I was reading over her bio, and some of the things I didn't even know she was doing. But the thing that really got me about Vicki is women around the world was, and everyone can relate to it. I put it out there, like, stop trying to be perfect. Why do we do that? Vicki.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I was just telling them about you. I was trying to figure out when we did Let's Keep It Real podcast. I don't know how long ago that was.
Oh, wow.
It's 8 months ago? Oh.
It's probably about 4 months ago, I think. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. And I said, I thought you were awesome sauce, so I wanted to have you on the live show, too. And everyone was responding. I know it sounds so simple, and we should know it, but I love your tagline. Stop trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
Why do we do that? Right?
It's true. Everybody, they even will like say, "Oh no, I'm not trying to be perfect," but it's where's that app on your phone that can fix your face and all those things. I hate whenever they someone takes my picture and they say, "Oh, well, wait, don't post it." It's like, well, this is who they see. If they in person, I'd like for you to recognize me whenever you see me. But it also isn't as you speak. People just want to make sure that they come across in the best way, which is great. But we are human, and we do make mistakes. And sometimes it's more natural if you just let yourself be who you are.
And it's much more fun, and people relate to it more. And I want to dive into that because I have tons of questions for you, but I just want to read your short little bio.
Okay.
Vicki is a speaker, trainer, and coach focusing on public speaking and leadership.
Yeah.
Helping entrepreneurs, especially women, we love you men too, find their voice. She's a best-selling author and host of the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.
Yes.
That's so cool. So cool. All right. So when I sent your bio out to people, I got hit with this question over and over and over again. So we're gonna start out with this one. You ready?
Okay.
So we call them Sally Bells of the world. The Sally Bells of the world said, please ask Vicki, when I speak on stage, I'm good. But when I'm on podcasts or radio shows or being interviewed, my brain seems to take over and I just babble nonstop.
Yeah, I've had those kind of guests.
and they're like, it's because they're nervous.
Yeah, it's absolutely that. And it's really just the first thing is, that you just have to do more and more to get comfortable. It's like anything, practice makes perfect, or practice makes you better. But I always tell people, you just have to remember that it's just a conversation. And if you can just forget that there's anybody but you and the host talking together, it makes you feel so much more comfortable. And if it helps you, in this situation, write down before you start the 3 things you want to talk about and have that where you can see it. And just look at that every so often to say, oh, wait, let me get back to focus. Because it is easy, or organically, we will go in different directions than maybe we had wanted. And in some cases, that's great, and it helps. In other cases, you do need to get them back to the point. Like if you were there to promote a book and you get all the way through and you hadn't mentioned your book, well, you kind of missed that opportunity. So if there is something that you really need to talk about, it's helpful to have just a little cheat sheet in front of you on your microphone, on your camera that reminds you, these are the 3 things I need to make sure I hit.
You know, it's so funny that you're going live today, because yesterday my recording for Let's Keep It Real, and the guy is also into helping, I think his niche is CEOs be more clear on their message. Mm-hmm. But the thing that he said that I thought was so funny is a lot of times they'll beat themselves up because they said during a presentation. And he can,
well, that comes from our Toastmasters. And you know, and I do that now, and I've done it for years. But I will tell you that the ums and the uhs can be easily replaced by just a pause. And people are so afraid of the silence that they forget the power of the pause. And so if they will just remember, as that is starting to come out, just stop talking, take a breath, and go on. And it's hard for people to do that sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but I took a speaking course. It was a year-long course. And the biggest, people said, Cindy, you've been speaking forever. And I got so much out of it. I really did. Shout out to Heroic Public Speaking. But the biggest gift they gave me was, they called it beats. And it was just stop talking. Yeah. Quiet.
Take a beat. Take a beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pause, because you're so yeah. And so when you come down, and it took me a while to get that, Vicki. It really did.
Well, and you have to remember that you have all different kinds of rate of speech in the people that you're talking to or talking with. And sometimes people need time to process. They need to think about what you said and how it really impacts them. Or it might be something that's like, oh my God, you know, it's an aha moment. And they need to really sink into what it said, how it affects them, to be able to know how they want to respond to it. And if you keep on talking, then you kind of discredit them from that opportunity to be able to contribute and engage. And as a speaker, we want to engage as much as we speak. It isn't just, people don't come here just to hear us talk. They really want to have that back and forth. And that's why I always say a speech, a presentation always needs to be a conversation.
Yeah. And I was reading over your notes, and I love the fact that and sometimes I just forget this. And I want you to review that there's difference between if you're on camera where you look and where you look in the audience.
Yeah, for sure. So in camera, and this is tough in the situations that people have. Like right now, I'm holding my phone, although I do have stands and things that I could have used if I planned it in advance. But whenever you're on camera, you want to have the thirds, if you will. So your eye should be in your top third, your mouth should be in your middle third, and then the bottom should be the lower part of your body. So if you were having the camera out further, this is kind of the way it would be, or even more of your torso, so that your gestures can naturally be there. And you want to just keep that constant contact with the people by looking into the camera, because that keeps that connection with the audience. And they feel as if they tend to forget that you're actually talking to them in this device. When you're in person, however, you need to look around the room. You need to, I say, share the love. Because as you look around the room, then you engage the people in that way with your eyes. And so I not only scan the room, but I also physically move to different portions, and not as a tennis match, you know, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but really purposefully. Every movement that you make, gestures or body, should be for a purpose that complements what you're saying.
Okay, so then I'm going to get into the biggest question I got as far as this, and it's also my question. I have such a tough time looking at the freaking dot, which makes people think I'm looking at them, versus looking in the eyes of the person. How do you do that? Because it's confusing to me. I'm like, should I look up there? Do I look at them? And then I look back at things and I can tell that it looks like I'm looking down, but I'm really looking at the person.
So really, your camera angle should be straight on. So right now it appears like you're looking up at me.
Yeah.
And also, whenever you're looking up, it kind of makes your eyes in a different angle. Let me see if I can get it. So you can't, you see more of my chin and things and then if I'm up, looking up and down, well, that makes my chin look better and it's always a greater angle, but my arm couldn't sustain this for much longer. So you want to make sure that where your camera is the best angle for you. So as I said, like this is my best angle, but now you can tell I'm looking up. Okay. But the thing is, I tell people to put a picture of somebody they love above the camera. So now you're just talking to that grandkid or that son, daughter, husband, boyfriend,
my dog,
or a cute kitty, whatever that makes you smile and be comfortable. And then you're just talking to your dog or your kitty or something. And it is so much more natural. But if you just are looking at a microphone or a camera or a dot on your laptop, it is difficult to forget that you're looking at a stupid dot. I also equate it if you went to a very large audience and you have all of the lights in front of you, you can't see the people. No. And so you have to really, you have to just act, if you will, as if you can see the people and you know they're smiling at you and you just are having a good time. Until they lower the lights, you really can't see anybody. So to me, talking to a dot is similar to being in a large audience where I can't see anybody anyway.
Just so you know, I love my family, but my dog never argues with me.
Yeah, get that. Although they do tend to follow you everywhere, which is helpful.
Yeah, that's true. So, Vicki, how did you get into this? Have you been speaking all your life? Were you just a natural on stage?
No, I was not a natural at all. I didn't start this until I was in my 30s, which is why I work with the youth now as well as adults, because I hate for the fact that people wait until they're 30 to figure out they can't do this. Oh. And I was a second in line of 7 kids. And so I didn't have to talk a lot. There was always other people to chat, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was really shy, and I was happy to be the person in the back of the room. And because I'm tall, I was often put in the back of lines and things. So it really wasn't that I could practice that, but I had a lot to say. I just never thought that anybody cared of what I said. And then I was promoted to a management position where I had 9 people working for me, and I had to talk. I had to present, I had to train them, I had to do all those things. And so I went and joined Toastmasters to try to overcome that fear. And I thought, well, and I started the corporate club at UPS, and so I felt obligated to set example. So I quickly propelled because I practiced constantly. And when I say practice, it's just a matter of I did the do. I made sure that I spoke. If there was no speakers, I thought, oh crap. And I spoke. And the more I spoke and the more I evaluated, the better I got. And then all of a sudden I was training people more, and I got comfortable in training. And sure, each time I pushed myself to a different level, I was nervous again. I still am nervous when I go to speak places. But it's all a matter of what did I want to accomplish that I knew not having a voice was keeping me back. So I wanted to give back to charities, and I had no money. And I had 2 kids, so not a lot of time. Yeah. And I wanted to be able to help them in whatever way I could. And so I needed to be able to speak, to be able to talk about what they did and how it would be helpful if people who did have money could give it to them. And so that was, the two reasons why I got into this. And then I stay doing this because I see over these 25, 26 years how many people were impacted by what we did and how I could help them and truly changed lives. I remember one story that I always tell whenever I speak about, I went to a training course and we had about 40 people for 2.5 weeks. We were in another city, and so we had small groups within this larger group, and each small group had to present, and one of the guys in our group would never raise his hand to present, and anytime it came to that where he might have to, we couldn't find him because he was always in the men's room being ill. And that totally freaked me out because we had to do just a 3-minute speech to be able to graduate from this management course. And if he didn't do that, he would be demoted. And I just thought he had so many great things he said in our small group that I just hated that he would not be able to be promoted. And so I talked to the manager and I said, is there anything you can do for this kid? And he said, I got this. And the next day he came in and we were all doing our chit-chatting before the session started. And all we had to do was a news, weather, and report, 3-minute little talk about what happened in the news, weather, or sports. And so this teacher went up to the kid and he said, did you see the game? And this kid said, oh God, yeah. And it was his favorite team. So he is talking about this. He is animated. He's excited. He's giving us details and he's having a great time. And after a few minutes, the teacher said, well, thank you for giving your sports talk today. Now, Sandy, the difference between how he stood and looked prior to that and after this recognition that he could do this changed my world. And so that's where all of it's a conversation, because he didn't think about him doing a speech. He wasn't thinking about that he was being observed or went. And he was natural, and he was doing all of the things that he needed to do to be impactful and energizing. And so that's how I coach. I find ways to make you forget that it's anything more than a conversation.
That is brilliant. It's brilliant. Getting on a subject that he really loved talking about, and now he's doing it. Oh my God. You're right. I was thinking of the group I was in for speaking. Of the 50 people, there were people there, at least a fifth of them, that just wanted to be able to speak in their congregation. Like, they didn't want, it's not about even getting up on the big stage. Yeah. They just wanted to speak with confidence. And I thought, good for them, good for them recognizing, that's something that they were like, I have something to say. But these people, Vicki, a lot of them were in their 50s and 60s. Oh, yeah. And they still thought, hey, it's not too late. I got a lot to say, and I want to be able to say it. Yeah. I just met someone today. I went to a networking event in the morning, and there were maybe 10 people there. And just so happened that the person I sat next to, he wasn't a person that was, he sold the concrete for your drive or your garage. You change it to being that speckled kind of stuff. So he really wasn't in my wheelhouse of people, of an ideal client for me. But as I got to know him, he's a pastor, and so he has a congregation and he has to speak, and he says he hates to speak, and he's a pastor. What? And so as we were talking, it came out that his background, he was actually in a sharecropping
in Louisiana. Like, he was in that kind of situation. He's 68. So he was in a situation that we thought were, you know, I can't imagine what it was like to be in that. And I said, well, you have a great story. You should come on my podcast to talk about your story. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know if I could do that. I said, well, just pretend it's you and I talking right now. And he says he thought about writing his own story for years and years, but he just didn't know that he could do it, that anyone would care. And I said, you know, one of the things that I offer is, as you get on my podcast, I'll save the transcript, and I use AI to do the transcript. And then every so often, I'll just ask you to do a compilation book with me. Because I think so many people discount the fact that they have a story to tell, and they don't know how to tell it. And he says, well, I couldn't get up and just tell my story. And I said, well, you know, it's just that we'll just have little conversations, and we'll make it into a book. And then you have it great. But it's people, they want to do this. They know that they have a story, but they just don't have the confidence to tell it. And that's what I try to do, is bring out that confidence.
I think that's wonderful. So when you review for your guest, do you have people that are used to speaking as well as never have done it, or do you only go after people that you want to bring them up to the next level?
I go after anyone that has something that I think will help my audience grow as in their business. And there are people that they have a great product or service, but they really aren't a speaker. You know, it's even authors. I'll have authors, and they wrote a book, but they forgot about that part. They forgot about that part, that they have to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
And so those are the people that I really like to work with. The people that have a gift, but they don't know how to share it. And so I want to make them get to the point where their voice can be their messenger, and have them be more brought out into the world for people, and to get comfortable. One of the things, like this video that we're doing right now, this media is not going away. And I love to work with people that are terrified of doing this. Like, if you ask, and I'm sure you've seen this, if you tell somebody, oh, we're going to go on Instagram Live, they'll say, no, thank you. And they might have exactly what somebody needs to hear, but because you said that word live, they're like, oh no, not going to happen. And so it's really important that they recognize that this is something that they can do, and that we can make it happen.
Well, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew a lot about what you did, but I did not know that you had that podcast. And it excites me that you're able to do that. And what a gift. I mean, it's one thing to get out on stage, and that's very empowering, but to help somebody else find their voice, oh my God, that must make your heart pitter patter. And the book idea, you know?
I love that. And it was something that whenever, last year I wrote 4 compilation books. I was in 4 compilation books. And if you would have asked me 3 years ago if I went to one, I'd say, oh no. But, you know, with the advancement of AI, I realized, you know, every podcast I do is like a little chapter of somebody's life. And I thought, well, why don't I take advantage of recording these things in words as well as video, to be able to easily say, hey, here's your transcript. No longer a blank page for you to give me your chapter. Just take this, clean it up a little bit, work with the editor, that whoever I work with, and you'll have a chapter, and you will be an author. It's pretty cool.
I love that idea. That is so cool. And you're right. You know, I was reading over again, like, some of the points that you sent over to me to discuss. And the biggest thing was, I love stop trying to be perfect, because it's so true. And I think that's why people don't want to go live.
Yep.
Because they're like, they can't.
Yeah, because, oh, sure.
Yeah. And then the second thing is, and it's hard though, so many people say, okay, I got this great idea, this great story. I've always wanted to write a book. I can't wait. I'm going to go on a podcast. I'll be so excited. And then they go on social media and they start looking at what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And then they get inside their heads and think, well, I don't have anything to say that's like better than what everyone else is already saying. You know, like my story is not as exciting. Like I don't have that dramatic of a story, and then they don't do anything.
Yeah, for sure. They really, they have to just get over that, you know. And I put stuff out on social media all the time, but I have to be me, you know. And I know that not 3 billion or however many billion people that we have out there are all going to like me.
Yeah.
But all I care about is being me. And if you like me, great. If you don't, then swipe left and get rid of me. You know, it's not, I guess, you know, this comes with the grace of older age, but
Probably.
yeah, you know, and I used to care a ton about that. And now it's just, I see just the value of not worrying about that as much anymore, because I have more important things to worry about, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, at a very young age, I don't know what made me think this, Vicki, but I used to think, I think people are caring way more about themselves than they care about me and what I said.
Oh, yeah.
You know, matter of fact, if I screw up, they're probably going to be, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. I used to tease my daughters when they were in that everybody's looking at them, everybody cares about them. And I said, you know, there is not a T-shirt that you own that says the world revolves around you. So get over yourself.
No, they're just so worried about themselves. And yes, it is more in their teens, but even as you get older, you know, everyone's thinking, how do I look? How do I seem? Like, I think about it when you go to a wedding, right? And it's supposed to be about the bride, right? And the bridesmaids. But so many of the people going, they're like so overly concerned. My friend's like, well, I don't have the perfect outfit, so she wasn't going to go to the wedding. I'm like, wait a minute.
Nobody's going to look at you.
They are, but I think it's way about that.
Yeah, way down the list. Way down the list, yeah.
Oh, my God. So, Vicki, when you're doing your engagements, do you have certain topics you want to share with the people for those who want to hire you, like that you speak on?
So I talk about polishing your delivery. As I said, it's all about having that conversation, but also looking at, you know, as you do your presentation, how engaging are you? Do you have death by PowerPoint? And I use PowerPoint when I do some presentations, but my PowerPoints are with photos and things that are interesting and very few words. And so whenever part of my coaching is with folks is I provide evaluations of their talks, and I not only listen to them speak and give them advice and guidance, but I also talk to them about their PowerPoint and how to make those pictures complement your words and be memorable, because a bunch of words are not memorable. Bullet points are not memorable. I'm so sorry. The only thing that they're going to do is have you save that screenshot so you can capture that somewhere else. But so you want to be able to polish your delivery, make sure that how you say something is really impactful. And then I also do a talk on becoming comfortable. And that one's really becoming the confident speaker is really for those that are terrified of speaking. And so we're just trying to get you to that point where you can not be sick whenever you have to try to speak. And then I have another session that is my leadership track, and that is leading with your heart, your head, and your hands. And that I truly love that, because it is really designed to have you really align your feminine and your masculine energies, and to be able to understand the impact of empathy and tone in your voice and being emotionally intelligent. And once you get that relationship built, which all comes from the heart, then you can start to work together strategically to be able to really get things in the logic and all that. So that's the head. And then I am big on service. When I used to hire people, I would look not so much at their Excel and PowerPoint and Word proficiency, but more so, how long did you volunteer this month or last year? And what is your attitude? Asking you questions that really show me that you've got a positive mindset and a good attitude, because a bad attitude will spread like wildfire in a group. And only person that can change your attitude is you, and it takes time. So I much rather hire someone that's got a good mind space than someone that's brilliant in their resume and is terrible to work with.
Yeah. I love that. I love it, Vicki. It's everything you said. It's a reminder to me, you know, especially when right now I'm looking to bring in more people. And a lot of times I'm thinking in the past, people are like, why would you even hire that person? That person had so much more, you know, credentials.
Yeah.
And it ended up those people worked out because I just loved who they were in their heart, and I knew I could work with them. So you're right. So
yeah, you can teach them those other skills. And so it's just something that's a reminder. And so I do a 6-week course, and then the goal is that if that works out, then we can do another 6 weeks and do quarterly or whatnot.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you. You're doing stuff that's really making an impact, and I can tell you really love it and are passionate about it, which is important. Yeah.
And the podcast was so surprising.
Was it?
Yeah, I have over 200 episodes now, and in a year. So that tells you I love doing this.
Yeah, you're busy. You're busy. Well, it flew by, of course, but before we go, I want you to tell them again, how can they find you? How can they reach you?
Yeah, the best way is to go to my website, which is https://www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. Again, that's findyourleadershipconfidence.com. Or you can go to vicki.noethling@gmail.com too. Either way.
Well, Vicki, my Let's Keep It Real people were happy when you came on. And hey, I got something to say. Don't you worry if you missed it from the beginning. I'm going to record this when we're done, and then I'm going to put it on all platforms. So it'll be on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn, and our website. And Vicki and I will really appreciate you sharing and liking.
Please. Thanks so much, Sandy. It's been a great pleasure to see you again. We'll have to do this more.
I know. It was fun. Toodles.
Toodles.